7:32.
Welcome, everyone, to the Monday, March 3rd, 2025 Village of Lansing Board of Trustees meeting. We're starting our meeting a couple of minutes late. Jody was doing some notarization for a couple of our candidates, starting the meeting at 7:32. The first order of business is roll call. Susan Ainsley.
Present.
Wolfgang Bulmer.
On Zoom.
On Zoom, okay. Carolyn Greenwald.
Here.
Kathleen Yin.
Here.
And Ronnie Hardaway's here. Thank you. The next order of business is public comment period. This is a period in the meeting when anyone who would like to speak for 2 or 3 minutes on a topic that is not already on the agenda, you're welcome to speak. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak?
Yes.
John Dennis.
Hi, John Dennis, live at 893 Cube Heights Road, and just wanted to sort of report back and say we did get plenty of resolutions regarding the salt mine, and I wanted to apologize for badgering all of you a bit about that, sending emails, looking at it again. And I just wanted to share sort of a personal experience. My father-in-law had high blood pressure, had a series of strokes, and maybe spent the last 3 years of his life, bedridden with, nursing care every day. So sort of lived through that, and I think, unfortunately, my wife has inherited some of his, hypertension problems, but won't go into that. But in that sense, our lake is a very valuable resource, and to the extent that we can keep too much salt from going into it. I was just sampling I'm a member of CSI, Community Science Institute, and we do synoptic sampling, and just 3 days ago we were sampling when we had all that meltwater rushing down, and for the first time ever we got chloride over 500 parts per million or milligrams per liter, which is above the drinking water standard. So salt levels are going up, and so we do need to find ways to reduce salt, and I want to maybe chat with you at some point about ways that other parts in the Adirondacks are dramatically lowering the use of salt by using brine. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for the work that you do. It's a pleasure to know you're here working for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to speak? Seeing none, is there anyone online who would like to speak? I see no one, so I will move that we close the public comment period.
Second.
Susan Ainsley seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next agenda item is to approve our draft minutes from February 13th, 2025. I will move those to be discussed.
Second.
Susan seconds. Is there any question or concern about the minutes? I see none, so I will move that we approve the draft minutes from February 13th, 2025. Need a second?
Second. Oh, second.
Carolyn seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
It was, well, it doesn't matter.
Fine, that was Kathleen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't mind, but yeah.
It doesn't.
Your lips
I
are
already think we said it at the same time.
We started discussing, so
Okay.
this is
fine now. All right, that's taken care of. The next topic is, and we are past the time, so we're okay, is our public hearing for proposed local law 2025, local law A 2025, amending the Village of Lansing, Chapter 125, subdivision of land to include provisions for lot line adjustment. So I will move that we open the public hearing. Susan seconds. This particular amendment, proposed local law is to allow our Mike Scott, our code enforcement officer, under circumstances which don't include creating a new lot or breaking our subdivision of land code, to approve simple lot line changes, as long as it doesn't create a new lot or would not create a non-conforming parcel, would comply with all of our zoning requirements, would not create the need for a new street, would not create the need for new modified or additional public improvement, and does not create or maintain landlocked parcels. So that's just a quick summary of it. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this particular proposed law? Okay. In the room? None? Online? No one. So no comments for this public hearing. I will move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Susan seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. And so now we would need to I move that I move this local law A for the subdivision of land to include provision for lot line adjustment. We need someone to second it so we can.
Second.
Thank you, Susan. So this is our local law A. Is there any discussion about the local law A?
It becomes local law 1, 2025.
Local law 1.
The resolution that Natalie prepared.
Yes. Whereas this matter involves consideration of the following proposed action: adoption of proposed local law A to be designated local law 1, 2025 upon its adoption, to amend the Village of Lansing Chapter 125 subdivision of land to include provisions for a lot line adjustment, and B, on January 13th, 2025 and February 3rd, 2025, the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees preliminarily discussed the purpose and intent of proposed local law A 2025, and thereupon scheduled a public hearing thereon for March 3rd, 2025. And C, on March 3rd, 2025, the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees held a public hearing regarding this proposed action, and thereafter discussed and reviewed, 1, the proposed local law A 2025, 2, all other information and materials rightfully before the board, and 3, all issues raised during the public hearing and or otherwise raised in the course of the board's deliberations. And D, the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees determined that the proposed action is a type 2 action for the purposes of Article 8 of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, not requiring review, and now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the Village of Lansing Board of Trustees hereby adopts the attached proposed local law A 2025 to be designated local law 1 2025. All those in favor of adopting the resolution and the law?
Aye.
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 Thank you all. Our next topic is to consider setting a public hearing for proposed local law B 2025, local law for rezoning the new parcel C minor subdivision of the Borg Warner lot. This local law would rezone parcel C to be from business and technology district to high-density residential district. I will move this a public hearing for this proposed local law.
Second.
So you would set a public hearing for proposed local law B to rezone the new parcel C minor subdivision of the Borg Warner lot for March 17th, 2025 at 7:35.
I'm sorry, I move that proposed date for the public hearing for proposed local law B 2025.
Second.
Susan Ainsley seconds. Any discussion about the date, time?
Scott?
Anything from Wolfgang? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't see your hand.
No, that's okay. I just wanted you to be aware that you may not be able to end up passing that on the 17th or completing at least on the 17th, because I do have to turn in a GML 239. But what I will have for that meeting is you'll need a full EAF for that.
Okay,
It's a type 1 action. So
Okay.
it's over 25, it's changing zoning over 25 acres, so I'll have that prepared for you. At least can go over that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Even if you can.
we'll just extend the public hearing to a second meeting and vote on the final at the next
Just
meeting.
wanted you to be aware of it, that's all.
Okay, Mike, that's fine, well, at least we can get the discussion started. Okay. I'm just making a note. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, our next topic is to consider the possibility of a planned development area, PDA, for 20 Bobax Drive. A presentation by James Ginzel, Fagan Engineers. Are you James? Step up, James.
I'm James Genzel with Fagan Engineers. I'm the president. I'm an environmental and civil engineer down in Elmira. We're working in conjunction with Alexander Marigold, who's online right now. And he's actually been to this process for the original project for the PDA. And what we're looking at doing is expanding upon that. So I know you guys have got a lot of paperwork in front of you. Probably the best thing to do is I'll let Alex start up. He's on the architecture side. He has all that background. When it gets to the site and civil and the seeker side of things, I can jump in.
Okay.
Alex, you there?
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Can you hear my, sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is to some degree a recap. You can see that we presented this thing already in June 26, 2023, but there's some kind of amendment and addition, and that's why we're asked to go back. So if you remember, we're talking about 20 Womax, which is currently Transact Factory. And the idea was to develop a new PDA that would allow fairly dense development within the footprint of this factory. So since then, and this was a proposal which this this very body at some point approved to proceed. But of course, in the meantime, the owners acquired the adjacent lot and are also interested in developing that. And as you know, there is nothing there right now, just weeds and lots of scraggly trees. So the idea is to develop a sort of a similar size residential unit and include that in the PDA, obviously. So here it is as it is currently zoned. Business and technology. Here are the proposed setbacks. Again, we've discussed this at length last time. This one is basically using the same sort of principle setbacks everywhere else. Same thing for parking. And this is the sort of the civil end of things, and this is where I think Jamie should step in.
Thanks, Alex. So now what we're talking about is the full size of the site is 11 acres, 11.14 acres to be exact. And what you're seeing in front of you is roughly 500 units with parking.
Exactly 500 units.
What's that?
Exactly 500 at the moment.
Exactly, I should say. Exactly 500 units. My site plan drawing there, C3, will actually give you the breakdown of the units, the types, the sizes, and all that. And then the parking pieces. But what we'd be proposing is a development of 600 units plus related infrastructure, parking, stormwater.
Did you say 600 units?
Or 500 units, sorry, that's 681 parking spaces, that's what I was about to say. And then the related infrastructure, the parking lot, which is 681, the stormwater treatment, and also some amenities like tennis, or I actually said pickleball, but we'll talk about that later. So what you see in front of you, we've actually already done traffic studies on. just to make sure that this was feasible. From a traffic point of view, there's really no impact out there. We come up with what they call a level of service of A. I can really get into the traffic details if you want, but basically, if you take the trip generation based on the unit counts of 500 units, you're still within the level of service of A at that intersection, signalized intersection at Warren and Bomax. What we would propose, and then that gets into more of the site plan details, is an exit only from the parking lot on parcel B. So parcel A was our original project, that's the building 20, that would be redevelopment site. Parcel B would be the new development site.
Where would the exit be?
So right, you would have your existing exit and entrance, the same, will be redeveloped the same spot. And we would propose another exit onto Warren Road. Yeah, right there, thank you, Alex. So we modeled the traffic based on such. Pretty much, I would say 90% of your traffic's going to the right other, there's not much going to the left, right? Correct. So most of your traffic's going to be making a right. Right-hand turn is your best maneuver from a traffic point of view. So that works out great.
Traffic study in the back of this,
There,
the end of this?
yeah, that's actually yep, that's, I didn't know what you were actually given, but yeah, that's the full traffic study. So we did it based on, we went out there and did traffic counts during peak hours to see what the peak hours being the morning peak, somewhere between, 7 and 9 in the morning, and then 4 to 6 in the evening. And then you find your peak 15 minutes, multiplied by 4, you find your peak out. So we did that under multiple days, multiple times. And basically, we get a level of service of A for both the signalized intersection and the new drive, that's the exit drive. The other big concern is sanitary sewer, as you guys know. We've had some discussions with Brent going back and forth. One of the ideas on this site is realistically, for the full development of this site, we anticipate developing it into 2 phases. So the redevelopment side and the new construction side. One of the things that we discussed with Brent is the possibility of metering that site for the sewage. So we wrote this analysis on the sanitary sewer usage based on apartment units and bedrooms and water usage. Just to take a step back, my background, I'm actually a public health engineer for Chemung County. So we do a lot of these analysis on septic systems and wastewater systems to look at what the DEC requires versus what you actually see happening. So, you guys are all based on your EDU approach, which is the theoretical usage plus potential infiltration and all that, I inflow into the system. What we discussed preliminarily with Brent is the possibility of constructing one of the phases and then metering that to make sure that we are actually giving you real data, real good data, and then doing some safety factors. That's going to need to be a discussion going forward. But what we would tend to do is for phase 1, or the initial phase, would be develop the new parcel, the existing, the vacant parcel. 2 reasons. One, to take a little bite on the project to get it started, but 2, you're not taking down or demolishing the existing commercial building that could be potentially useful in the future. But we want to see how phase 1 works over time, from a market rate, how much you can absorb. So that would be the approach, but from the point of view of going through site plan approvals, we need to first kind of take a step back, look at the PDA and expand the PDA to include this parcel.
Right. Okay.
So now Alex has a bunch of floor plans and such and views in the drawing set. We can go over that as well if you'd like.
Just in a nutshell, parcel A is what presented to you 2 years ago almost, and that hasn't really changed. The idea is it's a sort of a 3-story on the west side as a nod to the existing kind of low-rise residential area there, and then it goes up to 4 stories. This thing is basically a 4-level thing, except the middle 2 levels we have to kind of elevate in order to be able to drive under them. These are more or less the elevations of parcel B, which is the brick is the existing wall of the 20 Bomax of the Transact factory. This is the new proposal, parcel B. And this is kind of the cross section. Like I said, this is the lower part, higher part. So this is northeast apartments, northeast North Point, right? This is Fort Road. So this is what these things look like together. This is inside parcel B, kind of courtyard. This is the view from the balcony. Corner. Again, these things are pretty preliminary, but you kind of get the basic idea of where it's going.
What's the height of the part, the tallest part?
Right there, that's 57 feet, but it's only 4 stories. But like I said, we need to elevate it. Everywhere else it's 45 and it's 37 here.
Does that height include any elevator assemblies that would be on top of the building?
Well, the bulkheads usually get 2 to 3 feet exemption. So no, we weren't counting the bulkheads, and it really depends on what kind of elevators we use.
I think that right now there is a limit of 35 feet on all of our structures within the village. So I would think that the height of the buildings is problematic at this point.
Well, we did talk about 45 feet back when we were discussing parcel A, and like I said, you sort of approved of as such, with the idea being that actually 45 feet was a permissible height in the business and technology area zoning.
That's for business and technology, but for high-density residential, it's 35 foot.
But that's no, exactly. But that's why we're proposing a PDA, because high-density residential doesn't really allow us to achieve the density required for this project.
I understand. The PDA would allow us to extend or to increase the heights, but we do not necessarily have to do that if we choose not to. The PDA is a hybrid development between your company and the village, and it is up to the village trustees to decide, do we want to break our normal code our code law, code requirements for a PDA? The answer can be yes, or the answer can be no on our part.
Yeah, no, look, I totally understand, but again, just to kind of reiterate what we discussed with you 2 years ago, you can see that hasn't changed. Here's that 45, and 2 years ago, that was part of the discussion, and like I said, it was approved to move forward. So that's why we were operating under that assumption.
That was a very initial approval. You did not even present to the planning board, so I would not lay any precedent on the one meeting you had, and I believe it was actually closer to 6 to 8 months ago, not 2 years ago. But
yeah, I agree. We agreed to allow you to go out and investigate and come back with your plans, but we did not agree to allow you to exceed our code requirements. That still is a serious matter for discussion. It's not something we want to see in the village, typically because we are more of a pocket neighborhood, green space type village rather than high-rise industrial-looking residences. And it makes it a little more difficult for us to say yes for a project when it exceeds the height. And there are other limitations on this particular project that cause concern too.
All right, understood. Well, I mean, again, we were like back when we were sort of talking to, and I think we had several meetings. The idea was that this factory is being redeveloped, so in a way, this kind of industrial sort of look and feel was essentially given. And this is a pretty industrial sort of zone here. Right here, you have this milk factory. So again, that's why we're kind of working in that assumption. You have the airport and, FedEx across the street. So,
Yes, I know, but with the original plan, there was an entire area to the east of that would have tree line that might conceal the height. With this project, with this planned project, you're consuming all of that tree line, all of that green space for another building that looks pretty similar to the first one you proposed. So you're destroying some of the look and feel of the village to allow for more residents, higher density, as you call it, on those two properties. And if I'm the only one, I'm still speaking for myself. I don't know how the other trustees feel, but I am concerned with too much height, too much density within those parcels. It changes the characteristic of that entire neighborhood.
I'm curious from a design perspective. I understand entirely why you presented the first building as is, because it was a factory or is a factory that you wanted to redesign. So you came up with a creative way to do that. And then you mirror that in the second building, but I'm just curious, like, did you think about like, oh, for the second building, we don't have to do, the square donut kind of thing. Did you consider other things? Were you interested in that? Or did you like the way the first one came out and then you're like, okay, well, they should be, simpatico? I'm just curious about your thoughts.
no, we considered there were several different schemes, kind of individually broken up, sort of individual zones. But I mean, here's the sort of two considerations overtook in favor of this thing. One is that it's actually sort of in a way more economical to build a sort of a larger thing than 10 smaller ones. And two, like I already said, I mean, you have along Warren Road a fairly sort of sizable industrial corridor. And it seemed sort of characteristic of that zone to have something like this rather than something, like a sort of a sparse residential development, which would really be lost along the highway and, across the street from the airport. So there was a consideration in that sense too. But I mean, if you want, I mean, we have many, many studies of different options for this parcel before we sort of arrive there.
And also, the whole idea was to try to bring the parking inside of the building so that it's not one big parking lot. I mean, for the density, we needed to get to that certain parking count. To do that, we needed to have structured parking, but also that courtyard parking.
Do you have to have this many, does the village? Because if it's a PDA, we could say we don't necessarily want as many parking spots, right? We don't have to have. I mean, maybe you wanted.
No, actually, I was gonna bring that up, that, what we used was 1.3 stalls per unit.
Right.
And that's the village code, or that was just what you wanted to do?
Alex, I can't remember, was that in the code or was that from the original PDA?
It's actually that HDR calls for 1.5. There are other zones where it's 1.25. So it's sort of somewhere in between. With the understanding that, when you have essentially one bedroom apartments, the majority of these things, or actually at least half of these units, there's most likely you're going to end up with one car, right? So it sort of makes sense to go on the lower end, but if we can reduce it even further, that would be even better for, I think. We would plant a lot more trees, that's for sure. And by the way, as far as tree goes, there is a fairly generous setback along the edges, which the idea is to plant, obviously, and maybe even keep some of the existing trees as much as we can. Sort of that would be the next thing, would be to really survey the site in great detail, including kind of high caliber trees, and see what kind of inventory we can maybe keep there.
Other comments from the trustees?
I'm curious about the sizing of the apartments. Am I crazy that a studio apartment is more than usually? I don't know. I feel like I once lived in one that was 400 square feet that was crazy small. Is that wrong?
It seems small to me.
360?
Yeah, it seems small to me too.
Is that really small? Because I think I lived in one that was 400 that was really small. But maybe I'm misremembering.
Well, it sort of depends on the layout, obviously, but I mean, this to some degree is based on New York City HPD recommendations and actually exceed them.
Any comments?
Carolyn, to address, there's a laundry room, common space. Am I correct? I mean, this is the first time I've looked at the layouts
Yes,
of the apartments, which might,
In the studio?
I'm talking about the studio apartments being 360.
well, I guess my question is, are washer dryer in each unit?
Yeah, I'm gonna let that for Alex. Alex, is there a washer and dryer in each unit?
For this many apartments, usually that's usually not the kind of good practice there. That's why we provide a laundry room and separately. So in
Right,
each
so
building,
that's,
the laundry room.
so that there doesn't need to be space within each unit for a washer dryer.
But that's still very small, absent a stacked washer and dryer.
It's a closet, basically, but there's a common laundry room on each floor, I'm assuming.
I believe so. I believe there's multiple. How many laundry rooms per floor, Alex?
There's a common laundry room per building, which is again, a pretty standard practice.
Okay.
Per building,
There's one per building?
Mhm.
and
Which sheet, can you bring us to that sheet so we can see it?
This is what you're looking at. So this is parcel A, laundry room here.
Oh, it's a large laundry room.
And this is parcel B. Laundry room there. But again, look, this is like I said, a fairly preliminary sort of thing. We can obviously sort of move things around and expand them as needed. But again, this is all sort of.
Mike, can you go, oh, sorry. Can you go over the details of the number of units in a PDA based on the acreage that you sent in the email?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me from what I handed out, you're talking about?
Well, that you emailed.
Yeah, the email was density and PDA, you're allowed to go up to 25%. You may, it says you may go up to 25% more than the underlying district. In this case, you'd have to revert back to high-density residential, which is 6,000 square feet per unit in a multi-unit building. And like I said, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I figured what would actually be the density would increase. The final numbers, I believe, in parcel A was close to 75% increase, and in B was like 85% increase.
Over what's allowed?
Density.
But you're,
Over what's in high-density residential.
but our code allows up to 25% over.
Yes.
So this is way more than that.
Way too much.
So it's not even,
It's much more dense than 25%.
so then even within the code, that wouldn't work for a PDA. Am I wrong? Am I misunderstanding that?
It says it may go up to 25%, so it's however you translate it, I mean.
So you may allow an increase of up to 25%?
Up to,
that's
it's not
allowed.
over.
Up to, so I don't know whether you can go past that or not.
I would say no.
I kind of translate it as you can't go past 25%.
That's the way I would.
Yeah, I think that's a normal reading of the language.
Right,
Okay, so that,
Is a problem.
that's another problem, yeah.
that's probably the biggest problem, because,
It's
Huge.
And then the third issue is sewer capacity. We are locked, I shouldn't say locked into, working on your 2017 intermunicipal wastewater transportation and treatment plan with the village of Cayuga Heights, our village, and town of Lansing, that says that for each dwelling unit, we have to allow for 200 gallons per day. And there has been one exception that has not been tested yet, but that is the only exception, and we're using a meter. I am reluctant from past experience to drop below 200 gallons per day per EDU, because there are other issues surrounding sewer units that are not directly tied to the dwelling units within the building. We have to allow for the entire capacity, the entire flow that goes from the village into the village of Cayuga Heights. Putting a meter on an early development to measure it might give you good numbers. What happens if it gives you bad numbers? Does that mean the second development becomes a zombie property because you cannot build anymore?
And that's one of the reasons why I looked at developing the first new development piece, and you're still able to utilize the commercial element of the other piece at a lower use, wastewater generation rate. One of the things I did talk to our client about is looking at going for, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, there's New York State EFC offers an engineering planning grant to look at your I&I issues across the whole village, not just this project. One of the things we discussed is applying for that, and then the client will actually take care of the 20% cost share for your side of things. So that, I mean, that's kind of a separate discussion, but one of the things that we would recommend is potentially looking at your system as a whole, and I know you've already had some I&I work done. I've looked into a little bit of what you guys have gone through. You would take that to another level where you're not just metering or watching flow metering one site, but you're watching multiple major trunk lines and then correlating it to how much stormwater you're getting in there.
I understand.
Now, whether or not that helps you reclaim some of your usage of the wastewater plant, the shared waste, that's a different discussion altogether. But that's something that the client is willing to work with you guys on, especially in light of, you do have a lot of restrictions.
Right.
And, what Brent mentioned about, the 200 gallons per day is not just the water usage. It's the I&I side too.
Yes.
And believe me, I totally understand that. It makes sense. The question is there a way that this can be fixed in the future so that you're not stuck or handcuffed with this number? So.
Yeah, without data, we just don't know. We are requiring, we are going to require that all developments over 10 units actually put in a sewer meter within the property so that we can track those. That gives us more information per those larger properties, what's really happening. And 5-10 years down the road, we might have more data, but what we have right now is just exceeding the daily maximum capacity of the village of Cayuga Heights. And when they hit that, there are much larger problems for everyone. So we are very reluctant to allow for a development that does not currently use the 200 gallons per day. At this point, we may change down the future, but right now there are no plans to change that.
Yeah, and that's why we got to do this incrementally. We understood that, and that's when we went back to talk to the clients. Obviously, we needed to figure out a phase that's acceptable under the current guidelines, and then work with the village to get us down the road. One of the biggest things I've seen over time, I've been doing land development subdivision since '95. The biggest issue I've seen is, new sewers for some of these residentials when they get put into the ground, where they properly pressure tested and inspected, and you see a lot of I&I from those units. Or there's a little bit of frost heave in a shallow piece, and you're starting. So
yeah.
That's why I would actually recommend that study to look at some of your newer areas, but also your older areas in general. But you can't do that piecemeal. It's going to take a little bit of effort to do so.
No.
And that's why the EFC created that, is so that what you can then do is go follow on grants like the WIA grants or the ARC grants that we always get for rural development. You know, you're still in the ARC regional. I don't know if you know that you can actually get a lot of infrastructure money for that type of stuff. We just did an infrastructure study for Southworks, the Emerson piece, utilizing ARC money. This would be something that you can leverage to go after more. So, once again, that's a bigger conversation. That's not something you resolve in a year. That's a multi-year effort.
And grants are a gamble.
Oh, yeah.
You can request, but you may not get.
Yeah, well,
In the current culture, there's a greater chance you won't get the grant.
the WIA grants will be funded for another couple of years. I don't know if you guys have gotten any of the WIA grants. So I've written about 4 or 5 of them, and I've got about 70% success rate. Those you can get you get more dollars for the water. That's 60%. I think the sewer side's more like 25%. We just did Hammonsford, the village of Hammonsford. We just did a central sewer district collection system. And they were able to get ARC money, WIA money, and I'm trying to remember, we got 3 grants. There was another one that someone else wrote. The only way you can get those is to have the good data.
Yes.
The more you show that there's a faultiness, you know, that's the kind of funny thing is you're more likely to get grants if you have a that there's a bad issue that's in your system. Look at Chemung County with their sewer plant right now. That's a couple $100 million.
Right.
Sorry to get off subject.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's a topic that's been ongoing discussion for the last 2 or 3 years. John?
The grant is just to study the I&I, correct?
Yes.
Then you have to have the funds to fix the I&I.
Yes. Yep. That's where you go for the follow-on. First you got to diagnose it.
Right. The study I kind of went through on the plant summary for the few past years, we're kind of dabbling in the 1.6 million gallons per day average for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of triggering a bypass that we've talked about to another treatment facility. You're looking at, according to Brent, I had a little chat with him today, each dwelling unit is equivalent to each sewer unit. So it's 500 units at $23.50 from the village here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the issues. The second issue that I kind of did some light research on is the fire flow. The available water from the village circle tank, and it's fire flow for domestic, and still be able to support like a 2-hour outage and the domestic portion of that. So those are all, and that's in the town of Lansing, the village circle tank's in the town of Lansing, so it's not the village tank. And the final thing I have is it didn't appear that the traffic study calculated for the low volume roads in the village Norway to the west of your development, out that way, out into down to Trip Hammer that way. That didn't take any study into that?
No, we just we were told to study those two main intersections nearby, but we can expand that out if necessary. But I don't think you'll see, the volumes that we were looking at weren't as, that road wasn't that heavily traveled. Now, if you take a left to go down into the residential area.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, we could probably, the problem you got there, not a problem, but it's relatively low volume, so it's a 4-way or 2-way.
People use it
Yeah.
because there's only 3 connections to the Trip Hammer corridor. And Start Drive, Bomax, through the developments, and through Uptown, up in Warren, and obviously 13 State Road.
Yep.
So that's that's just in the village. Obviously, there's Cherry Road out to the north.
Yeah, we can expand on that. But
Don't do it on my account.
yeah, no. I mean, if we get beyond the PDA side of things, we can expand that traffic side. We got the good basis. We can distribute that traffic off of that pretty easily. But those good points. Yeah, I've driven through there. You would imagine at least some people would take that as a shortcut.
Yeah, there's,
Right now,
the B and A doesn't have any dedicational, out towards Warren, they can go either way.
Right. And we just wanted to throw everything we could at that main intersection for the purpose of analysis to see the worst case scenario with that traffic.
And I believe that Building B might have a problem with the entrance and exit, the way it's situated on Warren Road.
Yeah, I'm
For the
thinking
county side, I see it's a little tight there to the
Yeah,
proximity of the intersection, the signalized intersection.
and to be honest,
And the wide streets and the volume of traffic that has as well.
I'm thinking it's gonna be more of just a right-hand turn out. Because realistically, you don't need a left-hand turn. I don't see these, that's a bigger discussion. I don't foresee a lot of traffic taking a left coming out of there. It's gonna all wanna go right. And if you have a right slip lane that's only allowing exit, no entrance crossing that suicide lane, yeah, it's the suicide lane there.
Reversible turn lane.
And
Call it.
get the old school.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I was talking about with regard to Mike and the density and what our code allows?
Yes.
So you're,
I was doing some quick.
so you know, like this section 3?
I will look at that though.
Yeah, I mean, because
It's like you have the
it seems
section
like,
number.
I mean, I can show it to you, it seems like the whole kind of project has to be reconfigured, because this is a limitation, right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna just write down
It's
the section number.
145, 120, section 3.
When you go online, does it pop up using that, or do I do section 3?
Appendix A2
Appendix A2.
Appendix A2.
to the zoning code.
Three dash C, 3C.
Are there any other questions or concerns from the trustees? Okay.
Well, just going through
Yeah,
your Class C3 streams and the downstream effect with the higher density is an issue. And then there was, oh gosh.
or they changed the,
Yeah.
what do you, what's that?
Oh, I'm on the full environmental
Yeah.
assessment form, so I had some concerns about some of those. I have it marked up in my copy. But the Class C stream, the pooling of the water and that slope, so that's a concern.
Oh, yeah, and so we gave you a summary of the stormwater, but basically we would do a full SWIP.
Right.
That will actually look into the thermal impacts. So if you look, what we're proposing to do is actually work with the existing on-site pond, but also we have our own treatment area. So that stormwater treatment area that's kind of on the south end, that would actually take care of the new construction, the new LCUs. But the existing would actually go up to the north to the existing pond area with some improvements to that. But yeah, that's part of the whole stormwater process. We would have to do the full switch, do the green infrastructure.
And then page 10 of 13. H. DEC incident.
Yep. So there must have been, and I can double check this, there must have been a spill in the database that's probably from.
So I had questions on that, and then.
So what that means is it's actually been, it's been identified and someone's been locked as a person of responsible party, that's the terminology.
And then, and of course, the drainage is an issue.
Stormwater is always one of our main focuses on it.
And would, I think the idea of repurposing the existing factory and utilizing that footprint is, as a PDA, is a great idea. It's the density and footprint and the disturbance of the second parcel.
The tree area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when you come to the village and say, we have a creative use for a building that is not currently being used, that is desirable. That is more desirable to us, saying that we want to creatively use a parcel that isn't currently in use is a totally different ask.
Are there any other issues or concerns?
No.
Do you want to put this on a future agenda for more discussion?
Do you want to go back and think about the things we talked about?
Now, I don't know, from a procedural point of view, is there any chance that, could we do a workshop, an interim workshop with a small amount of, a non-voting, I don't know how your rules are, but just so that we can get the temperature of the room on what we come back for?
When we're going through a normal planning board process, we have like a developers conference, don't we, Mike?
Once it gets to the planning board.
But that's when it gets to the planning board. And the planning board probably is going to be reluctant to take on much of this if the trustees are not willing to establish a PDA for the development.
Sure.
So I'm concerned that many times the developers conference and activity around that, developers want the village to design for them. And that's not what we do. We basically read your plans and then accept them.
Right.
So the issues we have right now are traffic flow, the height, stormwater, and sewer.
And density.
And density, thank you. So those are the ones that you might work on from your side to see what you can come up with, potential solutions. At some point, I think the density might be a problem because you said earlier that the density was required for it to work for you. And so my concern, the density might be the biggest issue, the most immediate issue. And the others are sort of workarounds, but you might want to look at if there's any way you could bring the density down to 25%, but my gut feel is that endangers the whole thing. So.
Benefit would be larger apartments, though.
Less sewer units.
True. I don't know. Would it be square footage? It would still be.
Oh, I thought it's number of units.
Is it number
Yeah, I
of
thought it was
units?
number of units.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not
I think it's number of units.
Yeah, so that-
I just read that real quick, but I gotta look at that.
All right. So that's what I would suggest, is work on it. Work on the density and some of the others if you want to, but the density is probably the first canary in the coal mine type thing.
I agree. Yeah, the traffic, stormwater are all mitigatable type of things.
Potentially.
Comfort level from your point of view.
Yes.
Sanitary, that's something that we're gonna have to work through, but there's a way for that, but like I said, take nibbles and not locking you into committing all your EDUs in one basket. Believe me, we understand that.
It's not just the EDUs, it's the physical fact that the flow going down from our village into the village of Cayuga Heights wastewater treatment plant is just too much. And it's only at certain periods of time, but you only have to exceed the maximum capacity a couple of times in a month, and the DEC comes in hard with hammers. So we have to be very cognizant of this.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why, when I brought up the EPG to our client, and I mean, I actually I made copies if you guys want these. The information about the EPG grant one issue, I probably should just double check it. They changed it. It used to be part of the consolidated funding application, and now it's,
Standalone?
yeah, well, that and the GIGP, the Green Infrastructure Grant Program, I want to say it's due at the end of April.
Yeah.
I want to say that. But if that's something of interest, we would be glad to help you apply and actually pay for the cost share.
Okay, we can take a look at that and consider that.
Appreciate it. Alex, do you have anything else on your end?
No, I think we're okay. Well, as far as density is concerned, are we specifically talking about the newer development parcel or the whole thing?
It seems like both are over.
Yeah, they both exceed. They both exceed density.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, nice meeting you.
okay. Okay, our next topic is to consider our solid waste resolution. Kathleen, would you speak to this?
Let me find it. So basically, it's
within the
solid
page.
waste, reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink. So I can read it if you'd like. As you know, we're part of the Climate Smart Communities, we're registered but working towards certification for bronze level. So whereas the Village of Lansing is working toward bronze certification as a climate smart community, whereas solid waste reduction, increased reuse, and an increased rate of recycling reduces energy use and makes efficient use of limited resources, whereas rethinking the use of consumables and switching to durable, reusable items when feasible will reduce solid waste, whereas people are more likely to recycle when it's easy and convenient, whereas the Village of Lansing collaborates with recycling and material management of Tompkins County to reduce waste by recycling food scraps at the village office, Lansing Village Office drop spot, whereas placing recycle bins next to trash receptacles and food scrap bins in the kitchen area makes recycling easier, whereas recycling and food scrap bins provide a visual reminder to recycle when possible and reminds government employees and the public that the village government is committed to the goal of the Climate Smart Communities program. Now therefore be it resolved that the village establishes a policy requiring placement of labeled recycling bins in the village office building and food scrap bins in the kitchen. Be it further resolved that the village implement the policy by providing the recycling and food scrap bins in common areas and local government buildings.
I remember taking pictures of all your recycling bins and submitting them.
It's basically,
Same thing?
we're already doing it.
Yeah.
So
Not anything,
just,
Is a public drop bin.
no, we have, see that little container in the back corner there? We have one of those sitting.
Yeah,
in the
but
kitchen.
I Googled the
And they do,
office drop spot.
it's right back here.
we have it right here.
There's like a list for the public to go drop
Yeah.
10 gallons
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah,
It's behind the old building, it's every Saturday, every Saturday morning,
10 to 1.
10 to 1, yeah. Yeah, we've been doing that for a long time.
So this just formalizes it that as a,
But it's outside, it's not in the kitchen?
No, we have.
no,
Okay.
in the kitchen, there's another.
And this is gonna get us how many points?
Well, the point is, it just kind of, you have a resolution that says that this is something that's important, that we support.
And we've been doing it. It's
And you can then go further with your procurement policies, et cetera. And it's just part of your overall plan.
What do you think, Wolfgang?
Well, for me, that's another one of these not so smart or not so climate smart community resolutions. I don't think Yeah, sorry for being so blunt, but it's just, I don't get it. It does nothing to reduce waste, nothing. Open food scrap bins, you probably need then pest removal because there are ants in there and other animals and whatever, It's known that open food and scraps attract ants and other bugs. So again, that's for me another one of these resolutions. If you need that to get grants, okay, fine. Other than that, I don't think I'm supporting this resolution, honestly.
Are we
Because
having
it does.
problems with rodents or ants in the building, Jody? Mike?
Mike and I, there's not a lot of food scraps. We eat a lunch.
Well, that's probably
We
the
don't
best use
have a bunch
food.
of food scraps, so
Right.
really it's,
And have we noticed or heard of any problems with the outdoor drop bins having issues with rodents or?
A lot of smell comes out of that building.
I can tell you, I lived in Varna in an apartment complex. When you opened the bins there and there was a lot of food and things like that in there, we found once 3 little
tell us.
raccoons, and the mother was pretty vicious, and we packed our garbage and decided to come back at another time. And you see that I lived in England, a lot of food on the roads, there were rats and whatever. Look at all these studies. It's known that attracts rodents and ants. And the first thing people do when they come in and try to get rid of your ants is looking around whether you have breadcrumbs and things like that in your apartment or in your house. So that's a known fact. Sorry.
I think this is why I have ants.
Well, what it does is it reduces the organic waste, the food waste that goes into the landfill. And
if you recycle it in the right way.
For food scraps, for other things, if you are switching and you're just being mindful and switching from consumables to more durable products, you are reducing overall waste.
That's a different question, but that's not the resolution. I'm all for saying there are no reheatable and ready-to-eat meals in Wegmans because that's scrap and that's waste. And that's a lot of waste. I'm all for, we are not using these one-off coffee cups for these new machines. I'm all for that because that's a lot of waste, and I'm not using that. But the resolution does nothing to reduce waste, nothing, because it only discusses management of already existing waste, and that's my point. If you want to get rid of dog waste or other waste, I'm all for it. I'm definitely all for it.
With recycling, if we removed all of our recycling bins, what would happen to recyclables?
Same thing that's happening now.
Which is?
Go in the garbage.
And if the recycling bins are there, would some of the recyclables go into the recycling bin?
As far as I know, there's no such thing as recycling.
But if we don't, if the village chooses not to have that option, what is the consequence? We have nothing but
Global
trash.
warming.
We have nothing but trash. This is just one of the policies. We have been recycling, we have been capturing food waste. It might be small food waste, but we have been doing this for years. All this policy says is that we're putting into a policy the things we are already doing. Our practices are now part of a policy.
I'll move to accept Kathleen's policy, resolution, I mean.
I will second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Is there a nay? Wolfgang?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next topic is our 2025-26 discussion. Jody sent us a new document, 30 today, with changes to both the explanation sheet and the
accounting program.
the accounting
but
program, thank you.
Basically, it was, I think, only this sewer that we had some questions on.
I did a
But it's pretty much the same.
side-by-side comparison for another 2 hours after spending 4 hours yesterday to determine that one line had changed. So Jody, when you send out a second document, after you've given us one to review, the second document, please mark it up.
Wouldn't you just give me a call and say, could you tell me what the changes are?
I would rather receive it marked
Was
up.
that a choice, Jody?
Well, I'll tell you what, the budget one you can't mark up,
Right,
but
but you can tell us in here. And in this case, it could say, you could have said just G 120.4 increased by $80,000. But yes, anyway.
okay.
I-
I can do that in the future, but in the future, please call, because you can get your answer much quicker than spending 2 hours going line by line.
So Carolyn calls you.
Yep.
I called you.
Carolyn,
Susan
if
calls
you
me.
call me, I
Kathleen
will
calls you.
respond to every single
John
one on
calls
the
you,
board.
Mike calls you, or we can get a document that has it marked.
I didn't see it in time to call you.
So, yeah, just,
Can you just remind me where we are procedurally tonight on the
Yeah.
budget? Like, if we were to make a change tonight, what does that do?
So if we make a
Another
change
discussion.
tonight, we will discuss it again at our Thursday meeting. So we have changes, I'll go back in and I'll put it into the budget again, and then you're gonna get a preliminary budget. So there's different budgets that, we just keep changing them.
So it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely, this is not in stone at all, this is our very first round.
Okay.
yeah.
So what got changed? What?
It was sewer,
About
G 8120.4
what for?
increased from $63,000 to $143,000. There was originally a question on that particular line item about sewer meters from our prior discussions. I don't know if that's what caused the increase. It looked like the increase was actually within the second item under that, $115,000 for actual I&I repairs. So, John, increased by 80,000?
That was the number we had last year. Last year, we had 115 in there as well. You can go to your, I don't know if it'll say it on the actual budget from last year.
I'm sure it will. Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, we had that number in there last year, and basically, like last year, in an indirect way, we did I&I repairs on Dart Drive.
Okay,
An enormous, a fairly good amount of them. So this year, since we don't have that project anymore, this is a lot of them.
thank you. Does anyone have questions about particular items in the budget? Issues that they found within it?
Well, I wanted to have the same discussion that we had last year with regard to salaries. Specifically, as those of you who were here last year know, I feel that the mayor's salary should be more commensurate with somebody who is not, who needs to work, being able to serve as the mayor. I think it's elitist to have a position that just pays like a token amount, and you can't actually, have that job if you want that job, if that's how you want to serve, and you want to be able to run for it. The mayor's salaries in Kego Heights and in the town of Lansing are approximately $50,000. They do more work, it's more of a full-time job, so I don't think the village should have a $50,000 mayor. But when I started this campaign to raise it, it was $12,000 for the annual salary, which I just think that is not commensurate with the responsibilities and the work. So we've raised it $2,000 for the years that I've been on the trustees, and I would propose, especially in light of the fact that prices are going up everywhere, that we continue to raise that amount. I would propose raising it $2,000 again. but I'm open to discussion. But that's how I feel about it. I feel like if we get that number to maybe $24,000 slowly, it's more equitable for the citizens of the village to decide that they want to run for office, and then also be able to live in the village and, you know, have this as a part-time job, and then still, you know, live reasonably.
Yeah,
That's my position.
Carolyn,
Okay.
I do.
So, I don't know how other people feel, but slowly, so I would propose not jumping to 24, but just keep raising it every year until we have, I mean, that's sort of the idea I have in my head, is 24, slowly. I don't think Ronnie wants to say anything, Kathleen, so do you want to say something? Do you want to say something?
I think it's definitely worth entertaining an incremental increase.
That's what I'm suggesting.
I'm agreeing with you.
Is entertaining supporting or entertaining?
Support such an increase this year?
Yeah, I probably would, cost of living and everything else.
So I would propose 2,000 again.
So you want 1210.1 mayor's salary increase from 18,000 to 20,000.
I would propose that.
And trustees? Planning board,
We did a planning board increase this year. Did we do a planning board increase last year, Jody?
There is not an increase in planning board.
Oh, there's not?
No.
I thought I saw
I
that.
saw one too.
there was, are you sure?
The chair, yeah, it says 4 members from 4,000 to 5,000. On,
Oh, that was last year.
So there was one last
Last
year.
year.
oh, is this from last year?
Last year, we might have done all,
We did everything.
everybody.
Yeah, it says chair and members, okay.
We could do a smaller increase for everybody, but a more, for me, I feel like I want the mayor's position to be something that, like I said, every time. Wolfgang, do you have an opinion?
In this case, no, because I'm out of the town anyway, so in this case, I stay out of the discussion. I mean, out of the town in middle of April, so
If the three of us then are in favor, does 2,000 seem like a reasonable number to you?
Yes.
Would that work in the budget?
I can make whatever work.
Are there other questions or concerns about the budget?
I just had a question. Was the air handling system in the community room, that 6,500 done?
I can't hear you, sorry.
Yes,
Yes, okay.
we fixed
It was
up there,
A
the air,
20.
it was fixed in this year's budget.
Oh, yeah.
I had a question, not to cut you off, if you have more.
Oh, no,
Step back.
no. Oh, I have,
I just had questions, it's not really concerns. We were talking on, under A 1640.2, buildings garage, 24 by 24-foot sign shop placement. So we currently have a sign shop and the new sign shop, or is this the size of the current, we're just gonna,
No, we had the other sign shop, remember, we had to tear it down,
oh, that's right, because of the
chemical.
the chemical spill, okay, I thought it was a storage, not sign shop, okay. That was just a question. We're purchasing a snowplow next year, this next cycle, and this year we're going for the Volvo excavator.
That's what I proposed.
Yeah, that's fine. There was one, oh yeah, one other, A2665, general revenue, sale of sign. Is that the electronic sign?
Yeah, the message board, that one that we couldn't get rid of.
Because we're gonna try to buy a new one,
No,
correct?
I wasn't gonna buy one this year.
Okay.
I had to pick and choose, and
Okay,
I feel like in the budget, under the 5110.4, 5110.2, the auto flaggers. That allows us to set a work zone up, and I had to kind of prioritize which one I think would be safer, and we already have one message board. What I wanted to do was have the village purchase that instead. That gives us a safer work zone.
Okay, all right. I thought that the auto flagger was the electronic sign. That was just what I interpreted.
It's the ones they use, it's one single operator, and then they put either you can put them down both stop, and set up one lane. And
It's
then,
like they used on DART, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what they were called. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that seemed to work pretty well.
Absolutely.
It keeps people from getting so aggravated because they know that it's a cycle.
Yeah, you can't complain to a sign. And another thing is too, it gets the flagger out of the impact zone of vehicles.
Right.
So basically, that person can
Step
actually be
away.
in a piece of equipment,
Right.
be doing something.
Right.
If you leave them both down on stop.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
I just think it's a much safer thing.
Yeah, it seemed to be a good piece of equipment, and it's hopefully less quirky as the electronic sign.
What I felt the need for when I was looking, was on that project, and I see how effective it was. Reduced manpower, safer for the crew.
Right, yeah. Okay, good. Kathleen, did you have any more? Did anyone have any more?
Just pointing to.
I have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question regarding, as we know that Borg Warner is moving the production, and they have a pretty sizable influence on our sewer and water numbers. Should we plan as if they would have full production for this year and the coming year? Or should we talk to these guys what the impact on our numbers would be?
I didn't catch all that, can you repeat that before? So we talked to Borg Warner before, and they said they were gonna do it, but they haven't, and they haven't gotten back to us to let us know when they're going to do that. Do you have an inside scoop?
Well,
Do you
as
have
far
any-
as I know, they're
Yeah.
as far as I know, they are going to move production at least for this one plant, the ETC plant, and they are going to prepare, as far as I know, but I don't have an insight in this case. I only know what's being discussed and what's on the internet sometimes. That they are consolidating all the production right now, and will move that down to Mexico. That's one I know. It could be that it extends a little more because of the EV market not taking off. Because one of the reasons why they move it's all parts for internal combustion engines. So that was the reason why I asked, should we just budget as we assume, or should we talk to these guys and get some better numbers?
With the proposed tariffs starting on Mexico's products starting tomorrow morning, apparently, I wonder if that will change their decision.
$25%.
I don't think too much, because some of the parts are being exported and to other countries as well. So
Okay. Thanks, Wolfgang.
again, it's speculation.
No, it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have someone that would be able to tell us that at Borg Warner that we could contact?
Well, you can talk to either the plant manager. I'm not sure whether the plant manager would be allowed to talk to you about it, or you have to find somebody in headquarters. Most of the leadership team right now is sitting in Detroit.
Are you gonna try and get hold of someone, Ronnie?
I will see if I can find out who the plant manager is at Borg Warner and contact that person. I put a note on my,
What's this in regards to,
the moving one of their plants out of the US, and how would that impact our tax income?
Oh,
But it's not just us, it's the county.
yeah, I might be able to give you a contact in there too.
Okay, John.
Pretty good, there's a guy that's up there pretty good. So
Yeah,
I'll
just
send it to you.
send it to me, and then I'll contact them, and I'll follow the path until I get,
Okay, he might
maybe
be
get an
able to
answer.
point you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions about the budget or concerns?
We have, I didn't see it, it may be buried under something, IT consultant.
Yes,
Yeah, we put $3,000 in,
yeah,
under building,
Oh, okay.
I think is where it's.
yeah, I did see it, I don't recall where it
Well,
was.
I think I saw it one time, but building 3, oh. Just wanted to be sure it was there.
1620.42, IT for website, $3,000.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Jody, just a question. If I look at the interest income, which is pretty sizable this year, I don't see a lot of that in the new budget.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Interest income.
The interest income, so,
Yeah,
we usually don't budget for more because you never know what the rates are gonna do. Most of the income comes in the reserve fund, and you do not budget for reserve interest. And if there is extra, it just becomes your appropriated cash surplus for the next year. Because it's not guaranteed.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, right now, we've been having a large one because we've had a large amount in the savings account, and I put into a CD, and it's making really good money. So that's why we have so much for appropriated cash surplus this year. It's over $1 million. So,
Thank you, by the way. I guess my question, one question, final question I have, if there are other questions, that's fine. How are all of our reserves impacted? What are we going to be at the beginning and end of the budget cycle, 25, 26? I pretty much know the beginning, but what will we have?
so if you look on this sheet at the end of the expenditures, like the general reserve is at $3.3 million as of January 2025.
Yes.
And rec is at 625. Like, for instance, in our water fund, we are planning on, so that budgetary provisions for other uses, which is F0962.4, that is amount of money that we're transferring from the water fund and putting into the water reserve. Because we're not doing a big project this year, but either the next year or the year after that, we'll be doing a big project. That way, you'll have that amount that's going towards that project. So you're paying it for it basically over multiple years. And then you do a permissive referendum to take it out of the reserve. So we're planning that. John knows that there's some water projects that are coming up that are larger than what our budget would really handle.
Yeah,
So we're planning for that.
good, okay.
So, and another thing to point out in sewer is that if, right now, it looks like East Point would do 130 units, and they would go right away. So my suggestion is you take that, and that goes right into your reserve,
Okay,
because that's gonna be, so I actually budgeted for that in there.
Okay, that's the G2122.
0962.4, transfer to reserve.
Is that in here? It's not in the
No,
explanation?
it's in the explanation. The very last expenditure sewer. G0962.4.
Not seeing it.
Look at the sheets I just gave you for today's meeting.
Yeah, this one, right?
Finding it. Where is it, Jody?
Oh, there it is, okay.
G0962.4.
Okay.
It's the very last sewer expense.
Expense, okay, I was looking under revenue, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yep.
That's what was confusing me. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask legally about rental of village property? Are there any restrictions on how much money a municipality can make renting property?
Looked into this before. I don't think there's a restriction on how much you can charge to rent, but I would have to verify. Do you currently charge to rent?
Yeah, $25
An hour?
a day.
Day.
A day?
It's very cheap.
But, I mean, we're all the way up to $1,000.
Right, because we have the bridge
Right,
girls.
but I'm just saying.
Before, they were
They were grandfathered in.
$10, and
Yeah.
they're grandfathered in, and their grandfather's up.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, if that number was $1 million, maybe there was some law that preventing, municipalities
Well, I
from.
think there's the idea that it's the villagers building. I don't know how much you want to charge them to use the building.
But there's no legal
Not that I
restrictions
know of,
on
but
a
I'll double
on a
check.
municipality earning money through rent.
And we're only
No,
really
because you're
charging,
providing the space.
we're only really charging them for, we have to keep it clean.
I understand.
Utilities,
You
so
don't have to convince me, but I just don't want to.
I don't think we run, I don't think, but it doesn't hurt to have legal opinion, absolutely.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a good question, but I don't see, if we make $1 million, we'll probably.
It doesn't even pay for the electric up there.
In that case, should we consider raising it at some point? If we're not paying for utilities. But that's for the entire. They don't.
Well, it depends, I mean, $1,000 isn't paying your utilities for the year
for the-
at all, for
Yeah,
that building.
utilities are on
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
that building, we also have storage of records up there,
Right,
so,
okay, all
I
right.
mean, we'd have to pay for it anyways.
I'm not gonna propose we raise the rate right now, I just, if it ever gets expensive for some reason, we probably should look at raising it.
Ronnie, did you submit the grant for the bulbs?
Oh, I did not.
Did we miss the deadline?
Oh, I don't know.
For the
Bulbs.
as in planting bulbs, we already did that.
You submitted the grant?
No,
Yeah, you did.
we did it, we're doing it for the second year.
Oh, for the second year.
I'm not
Oh, it's
sure.
in the budget.
I know.
As you were,
Let me quickly check and see if we missed the deadline.
Okay, if we missed it, sorry. Well, if so, we can invest our money and do a little less, maybe. We can still do the bulbs.
I would not do any more bulbs. Wait till you can get the grant again.
I remember last time I saw you actually doing it.
Because he said, I thought it was already done, because he said one of the other meetings that he was gonna do.
No, it was just for the last year's. I didn't reapply this year.
The grant was $5,000, wasn't it, or was it $2,500?
But it's a match.
It's a match.
Ah, we missed it!
Oh, we did?
March 1st.
Oh, no.
Oh, dang.
We might be able
Okay,
to
so I need
contact,
to take this out of the budget.
I can,
Well, let's ask if we can get
I will contact them. That's through the planning department, right?
Jane Willis,
Oh, that's,
beautification coordinator.
I will contact her and say, oh, we were discussing budget and neither one of us applied. Could we apply quickly? I'll see if we can slide in.
Okay.
So,
Don't take it out yet, Jody.
don't take it out yet. We'll try. I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow morning. In fact, I might send an email tonight and say, I'm gonna call you tomorrow to see what we can. Sorry. I did forget. Okay,
I vaguely recall that the town might have gotten an extension last year.
But I'll find out, and I'll let everyone know.
And that was one of those line items that had question mark, question mark, question mark after it.
Right. Are there any other questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any.
So what's their next step, Jody? Thursday meeting, what we discussed, would this become the preliminary at that point?
So basically, the only thing you guys have changed is the mayor's salary.
And
So we're
potentially
to 20, and then maybe the bulbs.
dropping that one. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I can adjust that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still want to have a discussion about my salary. About my total compensation package.
Okay.
I mean, I talked to you guys and you didn't give me any kind of explanation after that, so I don't know if that's something.
Was this regarding the 16,000, 17,000?
So, yes, so my total compensation package, my insurance went down by 16,000, so I think that I more than proved myself at working through my husband's ailments, taking over, initiating the push for updating the code. We could have let someone else do it, and that could have cost us $20,000. So, I mean, not necessarily asking for the whole 16, but I still think that I have, and I'm not one to ask for anything more, but because it's not costing the taxpayers any more money, they're actually saving money, I only think it's appropriate. So you guys can discuss it, or you can do executive session if you want, I don't care, but that's my 2 cents, it's just my whole, for instance, clothing allowance that I don't get. Getting a truck, getting gas, getting insurance, getting different things, other people getting increases in their salary because they switch duties. They're not necessarily working any more hours, but because they switch duties. So I really think I give you guys 120%, and yeah. So.
I think this would probably call for an executive session.
It's fine.
Do we want to have an executive session tonight to discuss that?
I mean, that's okay with me. I think it would be a good idea to resolve this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, either tonight or some future date, whatever
Okay.
works.
We need to probably do it as soon as possible. So we'll just put the executive session on for at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Any other comments related to the budget? Okay. Mayor's comments, I don't believe I have anything specific I need to say today. I will apologize again for not applying for the, sorry. So we'll go around the table.
You were gonna do that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was a topic that Mike sent us an email regarding E-codes. And the planning board had decided that they thought at this time, we need to do more work on our code. I'm paraphrasing now.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, read it, yeah, because I don't want to miss it.
Okay, this was from Mike Baker.
Mike Baker.
At the planning board meeting last week, we discussed the general code presentation that Todd gave us at our February 10th meeting. Ultimately, while the planning board would love to recommend that we move forward with this right now, we feel that there is work to be done on our code prior to any future engagements with general code. From our discussion, it seems that the biggest detractor was the high initial cost given the size of our village and the ongoing costs that we would incur with code changes. There are many more positives, however, which would be reducing the burden on village staff, which actually I can speak to that because it wouldn't really do anything more than stick a middleman in there to redo the code. I mean, it still has to go through our lawyer. It still has to be filed by the state, by me. So, I mean, I'm not so sure how it would reduce a burden on staff. Enhancing searching for village staff of local and neighboring municipalities. This would be very, very beneficial when creating and revising code. Natalie, as an attorney, do you have privilege to that kind of thing? Only for the municipalities?
Well, it's whatever, your municipality grants you access as their attorney to search for them.
Because like he suggested that, was it Port Chester or something, suggested that website, and I went there, and it's right on the website, open to the public.
It's a different functionality, I think. I actually tried to use it under the Village of Dryden process that we use with the codes, and I must not have access, because I couldn't do the type of searching that he was talking about, so I'm not sure.
Up-to-date online code for contingents and village staff to utilize. We do recommend that the village staff members reach out to their counterparts in other municipalities to get their feedback on general code. Also, I'll be at both trustees meeting this month, and I'd be happy to chat about our discussion more if the trustees would feel that useful. The end.
Any discussion?
Just keep an eye on it, just keep thinking about it.
I think it's always helpful to have just periodically a comprehensive review, and there were features that were positive in terms of alerts of any code, federal and state changes that might impact. Off the top of my head, without looking, I've forgotten all the stuff, but it had a lot of features, including languages, et cetera, and fully ADA compliant in terms of the public interface. So there are a lot of positive features. And the comprehensive review for inconsistencies is something that's also good to do periodically, because it's incredibly time-consuming. But
What did
something
you
to
search that
monitor.
you couldn't find?
So we were having a discussion on at a planning board meeting about clear cutting laws, like if I could get a variety of clear cutting statutes
From different
from different
municipalities.
municipalities. And
From
so
one,
since
I
we had
see,
been a part of the
Oh, that
ecosystem
would
for
be
the Village of
helpful.
Dryden, I went to go log on, but that was more so a profile that we used in formulating the code. I couldn't do the extended searching.
You
But
can
that
also
just
get
might
that
be-
kind of information from NICOM. Because when we were talking about doing different laws, we would just call NICOM and he would send us samples.
Jody loves a phone call.
Call Wade.
So yeah, NICOM also offers that.
But in terms of budget and time and energy of everyone at this point, we do need to think about this and not jump on it immediately.
Well, when I leave, your next person may not be able to handle it, so then you can do it. But I can't see you
Time and
spending
financial-
$20,000.
And the time investment on the part of on village board trustees, my time, Jody's time, everyone else's time is immense.
Right.
And we'd have, to make it useful, we'd have to start today to make it.
Oh, you could start any day.
Well, I mean, any day, but with the work that Jody's done already, just.
I cleaned it right up, at least the
Jody
first
cleaned
section.
it up.
And, it was not, it was time consuming, but it wasn't that bad,
In other
And
words-
and the planning board, as they're using the code and they find discrepancies, let's get on them right at that time, not let them build up,
And they've been talking about this for a long time, and so.
Get her done.
Just get it done, then start fresh, see what we've got, see how much money we have, time, energy, takes everybody.
We're actually pretty small. We don't have a police department, we don't have a fire department, we don't have a recreation department, we have code and zoning, right? And our highway department. So it's the complexity of our lot, like, if we had a police department, I would say absolutely do it, but we're pretty small. So, okay, I don't know. I hate to waste money.
well, we don't have money to waste. We don't know.
And there are a lot of unknowns in the presentation.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess the consensus of the group, well, I'll see if I can phrase it. Mike Baker, thank you for the email. Appreciate the input to the trustees. Is right now, let's just keep it on hold. It's on the back burner. It's something that we can do in the future if we feel the need to. But at this point, it's not worth the cost or the resources, cost of resources for our staff and our attorney to get that done. So appreciate the planning board considering it and evaluating it and providing us input. And generally, I think we agree with your, the summary of your findings. But we will consider it as a potential down the road. Just keep it in the back of our minds if we ever run into a situation where our code is really giving us fits and we can't handle it ourselves. So, thank you. Okay. And general discussion, Susan, do you have anything for us?
Just the planning board met, of course. We already covered the E-codes, OMAX presentation, and the tree law is going to be done.
I wasn't at the meeting, Susan, I don't know.
Maybe sooner than later.
Okay. Still in progress.
Clear cutting is still an issue. The Youth Services Board continues to work on their budgets and just sort out where their funding can be most useful. An interesting piece, they fund family and children's, and they may not fund them in the future, but they're still looking at it, you know. We all met, I sent you all their agenda and slides and talked a lot about grants. DEC, New York State DEC grant funding.
Questions,
Never mind. No, but it was, I mean, it was the young woman who presented. Certainly there are funds out there, but, you know, we're not in a, I mean, village isn't in a position to, at this point, need the funding. But anyway, but there's new energy and more municipalities. And now without COVID, you know,
yes.
Roxy's hoping to get out into the community and tell their story, where she do the roadshow, but still concerned throughout the county with all the water breaks, infrastructure, you know.
It's been quite a winter this year.
Learned a lot about freeze, thaw,
Yes.
you know, a lot. So anyway, that's all for me.
Thanks, Susan. Carolyn?
I have two things. First, the rec partnership met. It's their 30th anniversary. They've had a pretty successful 30 years. They have about over 7,000 registrations for their various programs, and you know, the Youth Bureau continues to be their service provider, and it just seems to be like a fairly successful organization, even though I wish we had one and not 7 youth service organizations. More interesting for the village, on working on the comprehensive plan updates, I had a conversation with Christine Haas with Cornell Real Estate with regard to the Business and Technology Park. I called her to just ask her about a map, like, do you guys have an updated map? And she said no, and I said, well, while I have you, can you fill out my business survey and also have all of your residents fill out my business survey, which she said yes. And I said, can we have a longer discussion about how you're feeling? To which we did. And what they're feeling, and Mike, I wanted to tell you this, Mike Baker, is that they're feeling like business and technology parks as it was designed in the 1980s is kind of like malls, is not really how people are working anymore. They're more doing the live, play, eat kind of thing. And she said, yeah, if you guys are open to thinking about the business and tech park we would love to meet with you and talk about it. But one of the things she mentioned was apparently they're not allowed by zoning to have a restaurant that's not specifically targeted at serving the tech park. And so then a restaurant can't survive because there's not enough people working there. That seems to me like an easy fix. Like, why can't a regular restaurant go in there and bring people in, first of all? And yeah, anyway. So what I wanted to tell you, Mike, and everybody, is that we should think about the zoning for the business and tech park, and maybe like the mall, we have to update that for 2025. And what that looks like, we'll have more discussions about, but we should start thinking about it. That's it.
Interesting.
Who was it you spoke to? Christine R. Hass from Cornell Real Estate.
Spell the last name?
Hass.
Okay. Kathleen?
AAS.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
Let me check it out.
H-A-A-S, double A-S, instead of A-double-S.
I looked it up while we were meeting, so I could tell you guys, but I might have spelled it wrong. No, I have two S's. Two S's, one A. Unless my text is wrong.
Yeah, we can confirm it when we start trying to.
No, I think it's two S's.
Kathleen?
I'll just add on to Susan, the EPA public comment deadline was extended to March 18th, and that's regarding the addition of water bodies with silt, sediment, the harmful algae bloom, toxins related to the cyanobacteria. And so if you're so moved to comment, you can do so. The draft letters were also sent out in the agenda packet. So, as well as the supporting documentation. And then the New York DEC, that public comment period was also extended to March 11th. And that's basically, well, just, it's all in the packet. The core advisory group met, and December 17th was the disaster emergency sheltering, but the February 18th was the code blue information, and issues are specifically related to people with disabilities, and the need for permanent long-term sheltering. And the challenges and issues surrounding that. Tompkins County Office of the Aging Advisory Council meeting was February 24th, and most of it dealt with the impact of the federal and state budget and what would happen to the contracts with the not-for-profits. Also, just to raise awareness of aging issues such as the lack of respite care, it's full, home health aides, all of those issues. Then the member reports from a variety, from Statewide Senior Action Council to Whole Health. They've received about 1,200 survey replies to their community survey. That's pretty much it. And next meeting, they meet the fourth Monday of the month at 9:30, and it's hybrid.
Okay.
So, and the next meeting for the core advisory is April, but time to be determined. And then
Is that it?
yeah, Climate Smart did not meet. That's next month,
Yeah.
the last Wednesday of the month.
That's okay. I did remember a meeting, I just got a quick meeting, the town of Lansing, village of Lansing, village of Cayuga Heights, to discuss sewer capacities, sewer planning, sewer design. We met last week. We're going to meet again in a month, just to kind of align. We've within our changes to the municipal or the wastewater treatment and transportation agreement, we talked a little bit about our proposals as far as charging per seat within the town. We also talked about the fact that we want our engineer and DPW department to talk with the town when they start designing sewer lines. So we're going to kind of attempt to try to align future sewer line work between the town and the village, because we want the connections to be correct and best for both municipalities. And so we will be meeting again. I'm getting information about when's the best date and time, so we will just kind of pick up that discussion and go forward from our last meeting, so. That's all I had. So we won't adjourn. Instead, we are going to, I will move that we go into executive session. I need a second for that.
Second.
Susan seconds. We go into executive session. The trustees, and Natalie, I would ask that you stay for that, please. And I don't expect any decisions, actions when we come out of the meeting to discuss specific employees, record, salary, etc.
Is there a business and tech section or something?
Since the meeting is over, I just wanted to tell you, I looked up what the average apartment size of a one-bedroom in New York City, 700 square feet.
Yeah, those were.
That's ridiculous. 350 is a studio maybe.
It was a studio.
That was a studio size.
It was a studio.
360